Hello and welcome to this build guide for the Dragonsong Marksman. The Dragonsong Marksman's a proc-based build. It's a playstyle that's really fun, especially if you're into that sort of thing. If you like procs, this is arguably the best proc build in the game as far as just being satisfying. It's a very satisfying build to play. It's fun to watch. All the fire all over the place, and it got even better, at least in that regards, with 0.9, with the addition of Harbinger Stars, which is the belt that allows Meteor to be procced on crit, and we can definitely wear that and proc more of those, which increases our clear beyond what we could do in 0.8.5. Dragonsong is still a major part of the primary part of the build, and so between those two you get a lot of crits and a lot of AoE, and it's just a really good time. Now unfortunately, it's not all buffs for this build. The crit vulnerability changes from allowing us to effectively completely cap our crit with just crit vulnerability, an ailment that exists only for rogue, now being capped at 20%. Really hurt this build, but it didn't kill it. We just have to invest a lot more into crit strike chance now. Now, what does that mean for people who are building for it? It means it's no longer going to work completely out of the box the way it used to. It used to be if you just wore Dragonsong and you took points in critical strike vulnerability on the tree, the passive tree, then you were good to go. You could get plenty of procs on it, and you can just build your gear from there. You could play this very early. That's unfortunately no longer the case. You now really have to gear up for crit strike chance before you should transition to this build. Otherwise, it's not going to proc very much, and you're not going to have a very good time with it. So do be aware of that change. It is a pretty substantial one for the way this build plays out. But once you get the crit strike chance, the build is pretty similar. We get the Meteors, which is a bonus, and the scaling is still pretty good. It's still a very strong build. So you can definitely still play it and enjoy it and do all the content. Here are the pros and cons for the build. It's fast and mobile. It's got great gear scaling. Once you get everything going, it's awesome. It's a fun proc-based play style. It's got multiple defensive layers. It's actually pretty tanky, especially for a range build. It does require uniques. That's a negative. It must be at or near crit cap to play. Again, that's new. 0.8.5. This wasn't the case, but now it is. And it will sometimes be at negative mana. That's also new due to wearing the Meteor belt, which, by the way, isn't required. You can still play it without the Meteor belt, but it's a lot more fun with it and has better clear and has better range with it. It does have less range, though, than other range builds because of the Dragonfire proc from Dragonsong being relatively short. We were kind of hoping to be able to use some of the new area prefixes to see if we could get that up, but unfortunately, those spots are now taken by critical strike chance, thanks again to the crit vulnerability changes. So it will still have that limitation. All right, let's go ahead and from there talk about the skills and the passives. So the first skill that we use is Cinder Strike. I love this skill, and it synergizes so well with this playstyle, both in the tree and just visually. It's just very appealing. If you love the fire procs, this just adds more to it. It's not technically a proc, but it's more fire visuals. So to make this work, we use a lot of its own sort of, I guess I'll call them procs. They're not technically also procs, but the arrows, excuse me, the daggers, the burning daggers that come out of this allow us to get even more crits, which allow us to proc even more meteors and even more dragon fire. And we can do the conal attack as well to get even further. We also use Cinder Strike to enhance the damage we do through oil coating and elemental vulnerability, which makes it also cold, which is good because we are wearing Morning Frost, which is scaling cold damage, added cold damage, along with the fire added damage it already has. So we have both to scale, and this allows us to do that. We also get an absolute ton of dodge and fire resistance in it, so we don't have to scale fire res on our gear, and the dodge allows us to have just like a huge amount of dodge, which makes it very hard to hit us even when we're standing still. And we also do get some fire pen, and we get some attack speed so we can proc more quickly. As far as the other skills that we use to support it, we take Shift, which is our movement ability, which gives us a bunch of other really great stuff. This may change a little bit the first few days of 0.9 as velocity is different and now actually gives us CDR, but for now, this will work. We get Momentum, which gives us a ton of move speed. We get some extra dodge here when we shift for 1 second, which actually translates to a lot of dodge based on dexterity. This number will be a little bit lower at 0.9, but it'll still be really good. Shadow Slip gives us invulnerability while shifting. We're also getting a cleanse out of here since we can't fit it on our belt under most circumstances because we're wearing that Meteor belt. And finally, we get Sleight of Hand, which throws shurikens in a circle around us, which doesn't do a lot on its own, but when we go and take shurikens and we take the armor buff here, it gives us I think 150% increased armor. So that's pretty huge. So speaking of shurikens, the way we build this out is mostly for the armor. We take the pierce chance so we don't lose them, so we keep them up. Otherwise, when they hit something, they would disappear. We do take the duration on this one. And we also take the backflip, which is a really nice movement ability to get away from things or even go forward depending on your positioning. It just gives us another bit of movement, which makes this build so mobile. It's kind of crazy. And then we also do take some CDR here and haste duration. The CDR doesn't really matter very much except for that movement, but the haste duration is really nice just to keep us moving. You can, by the way, take a mobilization, especially if you're in arena. This can be really good. You'll have to remove some duration. You'll have to remove exuberance if you do that, but that can be a really great option if you're going to try this in arena. Next up, we have Decoy, which is a just great defensive support option that also provides offense at the same time. So its primary purpose is to taunt enemies so that they are no longer attacking us. We get a second charge here from Backup Buddy. We also get a bunch of dodge while it's active, and we get crit multiplier per dodge chance while it's active. There's a ton of crit multi, so if you line up your attacks while Decoy is out, you'll get a lot more damage. And we also get some haste from this and a fear, which is great for most circumstances. The thing about the taunt from decoys is not immediate, like, so you might throw it out and might still get hit, but if you have the fear on this as well and you throw it out towards the enemy and the area is, you know, affected, if it's in the area of decoy, the fear is instant, so that will prevent you from getting hit. So this is a really good addition to the build. The last thing we take is Smoke Bomb, and we're using this primarily for defense, although you could use it for offense. In this case, we just don't need the offense, we need the defense. We're going to get a slow out of it. We're going to get a cleanse out of it. We're going to get a Silver Shroud stack, which guarantees we get a dodge after we use Smoke Bomb, which is amazing. We're going to get Dust Shrouds out of it, which increase our dodge rating and our glancing blow chance. We're going to get a backflip, which is another movement option, which is great. We're also going to get Concealed and Carnage, which gives us Crimson Shroud stacks, which will give us 15% damage over time reduction. And damage over time reduction in the game is pretty hard to get, so anytime you can get it, you probably should. And then, of course, we're going to get some area and duration to make sure that we're in it as much as possible, because we want to be standing inside that Smoke Bomb as much as possible. All right, let's move on to the passives. So the passive choices we're going to take are going to largely revolve around Dexterity, Glancing Blow, Critical Strike Chance, Mana, and Health Regen. We're going to have to push all those up as much as we can. So take any Dexterity nodes you can. That's going to be for your added damage from Morning Frost. Bow attack speed is great, Glancing Blow, Crit Multiplier, and get 5 points in Wound Maker for the crit vulnerability. Get that as soon as you can, because that's 1/5 of the crit strike you're going to need. As far as HP regen, we're going to be using Sapping Strikes, Draining Arrows, and Perfect Aim. These three alone will give you all the sustain that you need in this build. You do not need any leech or any sort of HP regen. You are good to go with just those three. They are amazing. As far as mana regen, we're going to use Sapping Strikes and Mana Warp. Those will be enough to maintain your Meteor procs most of the time, and when not, you'll just regen yourself back up by using Cinder Strike anyway, because Cinder Strike costs no mana, so you never really are in any serious trouble there. Death from Afar, do not sleep on this. This is a very, very good node that gives you a massive amount of armor shred and stun chance. Stun chance is highly underrated, in my opinion, in the game. It will make it so that most enemies can't even reach you because they're going to be stunned constantly. If you want more movement speed, you can invest in Pursuit. I don't necessarily recommend this, but if you want to go even faster, you can choose this. The last thing you're going to be investing in is stuff involving concentration. The 15% increased damage here with concentration, the dodge rating, concentration cooldown, and then the dodge rating and move speed while you have concentration. Leave those for last. All right, let's move on to gameplay. So this is going to be just the skill usage rotation. This is a pretty easy build to play. While you're kiting, you're going to be spamming Cinder Strike to get Dragonfire and Meteor procs. Stay as much as you can within Dragonfire's range. It is pretty big, but it's not massive. It is not as large as, say, Bow Mages, where it's practically the entire screen. So you will have to position yourself to make sure that that you are within range of that while trying not to get hit. Keep your Bladed Armor buff from Shurikens active by using Shift as often as possible when you're out of danger. We do have extra duration in there, so you have some leeway. Still, you're going to want to make sure you don't lose it, because it is a lot of damage reduction. And Smoke Bomb can be used as an extra gap closer. It leaves a persistent slow on the ground for easier kiting. So if you effectively face away from the enemy in Smoke Bomb, you can get closer. Alternatively, if you want to get farther away, you face the enemy in Smoke Bomb, and you will you'll jump away from them. For mapping, this is a very quick mapper. Move quickly with shift, with shurikens and smoke bomb. Again, if you face away from the direction you want to go with shurikens or smoke bomb, you will actually move forward or to the direction you want to go in. If you face the direction you want to go with those two, you're going to go backwards. So you're going to have to get used to that positioning with those if you're trying to use it as a movement skill to get places. But shift is very easy. Just point where you want to go and press, and there you go. That alone will get you very quickly through the map, especially with the 50% movement speed on it for 1.5 seconds. When you get to high density areas, you can use decoy to redirect aggro, and then you can kill them all while they're stuck in the decoy taunt. It's by spamming Cinder Strike, very, very easy there, and that'll give you the Dragonfire and Meteor procs. When you're bossing, use decoy to distract the boss, reposition when he's distracted, use shift to save from incoming damage. Of course, remember to also use shift to keep up your armor buff, and then hold shurikens and smoke bomb to juke incoming attacks or until you need their defensive buffs. So those are going to be used as needed. All right, let's move on to gearing, blessings, and idols. So this is, of course, the meat and potatoes of the build, getting everything going with the loot that you find on the ground. Your stat goals are going to be capped resistance, capped critical strike avoidance, capped endurance, about 2,000 to 3,500 health, get as much as you can, 30 to 45% armor or more, 85 plus dexterity if you can get there. It's a little harder now than it would have been with the crit strike, chance changes, the crit vulnerability changes. So we can't get quite that high. It's okay. It's, you know, just going to be more challenging, but get as high as you can. 100% plus attack speed, 250 to 350% crit multiplier should be doable. And then 50-100% move speed, and make sure you get chance to slow and chill. You're going to want those largely on your quiver, although there's a BIS version that might not use that, or more succinctly or more accurately, there's an arena version that might not use it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. For your starting set, you're pushing crit and you're pushing your defenses. Like, crit is just, if you don't have enough crit, you shouldn't be playing it. So if your gear can't support the crit that you need, like if you don't have like 50-60% crit baseline without crit vulnerability, I wouldn't even bother. So make sure you get that first, and then make sure, of course, you get your defenses going as well. You're going to have to farm a Dragonsong first. It's pretty easy to farm. You can use Rune of Ascendance as probably the easiest way to do it, but there's also a timeline you can do it in. I can't think of off the top of my head, but Rune of Ascendance is probably the most realistic way of getting it. Also, Harbinger of Stars, if you want that, you don't need it. Same thing with Morning Frost, but you're going to want to start farming those fairly early on because they're going to be a big damage improvement, especially Morning Frost. You definitely want Morning Frost for this build once you get to the later stages because it's going to be so much more of a damage boost. On the advanced gear, we're pretty much doing the same thing we were doing. We're doing crit chance. We're going to start pushing our dexterity now. Get some armor shred where you can. Keep pushing your health and your resistances as high as you can get them. By this point, you should have Morning Frost, and you should have Harbinger of Stars as well. Endgame gear, we're now starting to focus on our Exalteds, getting some Legendary. If you can get a Legendary with increased bow attack speed for your Dragonsong, it's going to be really, really good. Definitely want to get that. Start pushing your Exalted crit strike chance wherever you can. That's going to help you out a lot on your gearing in the other places. Makes a big difference. If you can get your plus Cinder Strike up to +3, even better. Get to +4, even better. Even early on, you're going to want plus a Cinder Strike. It makes a big difference as well. Make sure that your quiver, if you are not using Arrow Guard, has chill on the suffix and is a chance to slow, or has slow on the suffix as well. You really, really want both of those, especially for this build with it being ranged but not like really far away. You want to slow enemies down as much as possible to maximize your DPS window before you have to reposition. So make sure you get those. If you go arena with this build, you're going to want an Arrow Guard. It's just going to make you a lot tankier. You can cap your Glancing Blow, get very close to it without Smoke Bomb, and definitely cap it with Smoke Bomb. You're going to want to get some LP on that. It's harder to get LP in 0.9 than it was in 0.8.5. But that's what you're shooting for. You're shooting for LP, Arrow Guard. You're going to want slow or chill on that. And if you, whatever you don't have on it, you're going to want on the rest of your gear. Chill probably on your Arrow Guard because you can actually put slow on your helmet. That will be one way to counteract that issue. And as far as best in slot gear, it's going to look very similar to endgame gear. One difference here, one major one, is that we're fitting in an Okirion. Okirion gives us shock, which is really good for stuns. It also gives us our chill, so we can offload some chill from quiver and put other affixes on it. In this case, we'll put resistances on it because we have to make up for resistances lost. Don't wear no Curian though if you don't get a legendary, especially with a really good stat like dexterity or crit strike chance. It's not going to be worth it if you're giving up a lot of offense to gain what's effectively 10% more damage, which is 1% more damage per stack of shock. Doesn't say that on there, but that's what it is. So 10% is good. It's not going to make up for lots of dexterity in particular. Like, dexterity is the stat I'm going for if I'm going to get this. If I get a tier 7 dex on an Okirion, that is an amazing item. If I don't get that, I'm not wearing Okirion. It's not worth it until you get to the very high level. So bear that in mind. This is very much a Abyss item. You got to get a really good Okirion to wear it. But if you do, you've definitely got a big upgrade. All right, that covers all the gear. Let's talk about blessings. As far as blessings go, remember that in normal you don't really care what your blessings are, but we have listed some nice ones, stuff like resistances in here, critical strike avoidance. If you see those, pick them up. Do not farm any of these. Move on to empowered. It's not worth farming non-empowered blessings. You're going to replace all of them anyway. As far as our empowered combat blessings, these are the most important ones. We're going to want to pick up a Grand Echo of Solarum at some point. That's going to cover all of our void resistance. Get a high roll on this. You're going to want Grand Survival of Might for your crit avoidance. This +1 crit avoidance affix. In fact, in 0.9, it's almost certainly going to be a body armor that hasn't been released yet, but we're pretty sure it's going to be a body armor. Make sure to wear that. And the Grand Survival of Might, and you have capped. You're good to go. Or you can do one suffix. Either one works. But you're definitely going to want this blessing for sure. It can also work with heightened senses, although we have actually taken out heightened senses for this build because we needed to put it elsewhere, mostly for our crit. But that's another way you can also cap it along with Grand Survival of Might. Grand Rage of Winter gives you Shred Cold resistance. We already have Shred Fire built into Cinder Strike, so we're good there. This will cover the other part of it, which is more than half. So this is a really substantial DPS buff for the build. So we definitely want that. A high rolled Grand Embers of Immortality will also work with it. Excuse me, with Engraved Gauntlets to get you your endurance cap, which is also, you know, really good thing to get. But once you have gotten your endurance covered elsewhere, which you're going to want to do, you can then switch that to Grand Body of Obsidian, which gives you this big armor buff, which is great for the Shurikens buff and for Throne of Ambition, which we're also wearing. Throne of Ambition gives us 2% more armor per stack of ambition, up to 20 stacks. It's 40% more. That's a multiplier. It's not increased. And it's also giving us more fire and cold damage, which is why it's so good for this build. The three of those together, the Grand Body of Obsidian, the Shurikens, and Throne of Ambition, big damage reduction buffs. We definitely want that. As far as drop rate bonuses, these are never as important, but there's some good stuff in here. Grand Sight of the Outcast is going to help you get some health idols, which we're going to cover soon. You're going to want 9% health idols. This will help you get there. Once you've done that, you can switch to Grand Winds of Fortune to get uniques that you might need or LP that you might need. But you definitely want to get those idols, so do that first. Grand Slumber of Mortitas will help you find Exalted Level of Cinder Strike, which you're very much going to want to find in this build as well. Grand Binding of Ruin and Grand Vigilance of the Dam help you find more Exalted Belts to make legendaries out of your bows and your bow and your belt. And then Grand Safety of the Labyrinth isn't a particularly valuable item or blessing, but if you feel like farming it, more amulet shards. Amulets got a lot of good affixes, so if you feel like you need more shards, you can go get it. Again, very much not necessary. The rest of them are good, though. You're probably going to want them at some point. As far as idols go, the big star of this one is definitely Throne of Ambition. We want the more damage, we want the more armor for sure. Absolutely going to want to wear this in our build. After that, we're looking at increased health large idols. We want 4 of those with either elemental resistance or increased armor shred effect. Either one of those is fine. I actually think this is technically duration, and it's just misworded. Either way, whether it's effect or duration, it's still what we want. So you're going to want one of those, one or the other of those. If you have your elemental resistance capped, switch to armor shred effect for as many as you can. Otherwise, wear elemental resistance. The other 2 idol slots are just stout idols with health. We want to get as much health here as we can because we don't need more damage. We do plenty of damage. And health is actually hard to find in this build. So this really significantly increases our health, like a lot. It's really important that we get these idols in for the late game. So you're definitely going to want to be farming these as much as possible, which is why you want that blessing for these in particular. All right, there's other useful idol fixes in here. If you see these and you don't have the other things, you can put those on for sure, but you are definitely pushing for the stuff that's in this this idol container. Let's move on to build, scaling, and endgame. All right, so We are, of course, scaling Dragonfire and Meteor as our offensive options. They do not have access to more damage. Dragonfire doesn't have a skill tree. Meteor has a skill tree, but it's on Sorcerer, and we're not a Sorcerer, so we can't access that. So we have to scale this through other means. So how are we going to do that? Well, first off, we're going to do it through Dexterity with Morning Frost. Again, Morning Frost gives us physical and cold damage to attacks and spells per point of Dexterity. Both Dragonfire and Meteor are spells, so they both get this. So we want to stack our Dexterity as high as we can. If it weren't for the crit strike changes, we'd be stacking this to the absolute moon. But because of that, we have to kind of push our crit strike a little bit harder to cap. So we're going to get as much Dexterity as we can while still trying to be crit capped. All right, next up, bow attack speed. It's simple. The faster you attack, the more procs you get. And so because we have Sapping Strikes and Mana Warp to get our mana regen back, we can really push this as high as possible, which is why we want that legendary exalted bow attack speed on our bow. Grand Rage of Winter is our Shred Cold. Again, we already have through Kindling, Fire Res, Shred Chance in Cinder Strike, so we don't need that. It's also less than half of the total amount of add damage we have. So Grand Rage of Winter is a big buff to our damage. We want it whenever we can fit it in. Chance of Shred Armor is actually huge. Don't sleep on Chance of Shred Armor. Thankfully, we can get access to a ton of Shred Armor. There's an absolute truckload of Shred Armor. So we're going to be well up there, over 10k pretty quickly. We get a lot of it on our passive tree, so it's going to be great even from the get-go. This is a great stat, and it's easy to get. Throne of Ambition, like we mentioned, great for both the cold and fire damage on it, and the armor multiplier is icing on the cake. Crit vulnerability used to be amazing. Now it's only good, not great even. Just like, you're going to want it because it's 5 points invested on this build to get 20% crit. So like, that's a pretty good return, but this is not nearly as powerful as it used to be. Still, we're going to take it. But because it's not as powerful as it used to be, we now need to really stack critical strike chance. Again, you need to get 80% to be effective cap because of the crit vulnerability being 20%. Get as close as you can. If you're not at least 50 to 60%, not worth playing the build yet. Try to get at least that far before you make any transition. Crit multi is great because we're going to be crit capped and we're going to only proc stuff on crit, so we're already pushing our crit as far as we can. So get as much crit multi as we can. Perfect Aim alone, the passive provides 75%. We can get a lot more on our gear, so definitely push that as hard as you can. Increased damage, we don't really need this on our gear much. We can get increased damage while wielding a bow is nice. That's a prefix on helmet and body armor. I believe we put it on body armor here. But other than that, oil coating is going to provide us with so much increased damage that we just don't need it. Dexterity as well. Dexterity doesn't just give us added damage, it gives us increased damage as well. So we don't need to put this on our gear, which is great. As far as defenses go, we get our defenses in a lot of different ways. Smoke Bomb provides us with Dust Shroud, Slows, Cleanse, Silver Shroud, all defensive options. Silver Shrouds are guaranteed dodges, and you get 2 of them. You get 1 through the passives and 1 through Smoke Bomb, and you can cycle through these pretty easily for the most part to try to have an uptime on one when a big attack is happening. If you can master that, you're going to be really, really hard to kill. Dodge, we're going to get through Dexterity, Dodge, percent Dodge. We've got that in our gear. We've got that in our passives. We're going to push as high as we can. The biggest place we're going to get this from, though, is actually elusive. Excuse me, not elusive. It's through Cinder Strikes, which is actually elusive. Yeah, that's weird. These are both called elusive. Shift's elusive and Cinder Strike's elusive. But Cinder Strike's elusive is where the majority is going to come because we attack so much and so quickly. And this stacks, and it just becomes crazy. And so we're going to have plenty of dodge. And when we are shifting out, the dodge per dexterity is going to help us a lot as well. So very high dodge build. Glancing Blows, we're going to get some of this from our passive tree, and we're going to get a lot more from Smoke Bomb. If you're playing Arena, use Arrow Guard to try to get closer to cap. It'll help you not get stunned, so it's going to be worth it for that. But for regular content, you don't need this. You can take it if you want it, but the benefits from the non-Arrow Guard quiver are pretty substantial, especially on defense. And also, you get chill on it, you get slow on it. It's just kind of hard to not wear that. But if you want like more Glancing Blow, this is always an option. Dust Shrouds give us more glancing blow. That'll pretty much cap us, especially with Arrow Guard when it's up. Shift is going to give us Shadow Slip and vulnerability while shifting. It's also going to get our shurikens up for the increased armor with a massive increased armor buff from bladed armor that we're going to really want to. 150% increased armor. Add that along with what you get from Throne of Ambition, and you've actually got quite a bit of armor on this build considering that's not like really designed to scale armor as a class. Is pretty good. Yeah, we get about 45% plus armor while bossing, which is very good. Decoy, taunts, it fears. That's pretty much all you need to know. It also does give dodge though, and of course it gives some offense as well, but the dodge or the taunt and the fear are its primary use cases, and it's great at it. Health, again, large shadow idols for the percent health, also the double health stout idols is where a lot of our health is going to come from. Stack health on your gear as you can, but these are must-haves for the build late game. Health on hit and crit, sapping strikes, draining arrows, perfect aim, which type is the passive tree. Very, very important, but as soon as you get these, you're good to go. Evasion, damage reduction while moving is really good as you are moving around. This build doesn't move as much as some rogue builds, but it still moves quite a bit. This gives you 25% damage reduction while moving. Throw that in there with a dodge rating from shift, and you're pretty hard to kill when you're moving, like quite hard to kill. We talked about chill and slow quite a bit. You really want these for this build. You want enemies to get to you very slowly and then to be much slower to attack when they get there, so that you have time to react to that and also have a larger damage window to work from. Frailty, every build should have frailty. I don't know of any single build that wouldn't want frailty, as long as you can find some way to put it on your gear or to apply it to the enemy. You should be using frailty, and this build's no exception. It's very easy to get from a suffix. Ward and ailment cleansing on potion use. It's very hard to get on this build if you're using Harbinger of Stars. You don't need Harbinger of Stars, but why wouldn't you? It's really good damage, really good clear. And we really want to prioritize health, increased in hybrid health on our belt if we're going to get a legendary version. Fortunately, Shift and Smoke Bomb will both cleanse for us, so we don't need it. But if you can get it on your gear, then on your Harbinger, then it's still good. Like, you still want it if you can, but we don't need to prioritize it as much as some builds do. Okay, let's talk about the recommended endgame activities, which should pretty much finish it up for us. So this build is really good at Monolith of Faith. Monolith of Faith? I need to change it. Monolith of Fate. This is really good at Monolith of Fate. Very, very good at it. So that's probably its best usage. It's very fast. It's very, very good damage. It's very good at killing the bosses, especially with throwing ambition. One of the best use cases for it, and just a high tier build. I don't know if it's like one of the very best builds at doing it, but you won't be disappointed at its ability to clear out monoliths and do farming with that. Dungeons, it is pretty good at it, but it's not an amazing build at it. It can do all of them, which not every build can. It can do every single one. Soulfire Bastion is a little bit harder, but Soulfire Bastion honestly is a little bit harder for most builds, so that's not a big knock on this. It just has a lot of weird mechanics that are anti-synergistic as far as playing with skill. Soulfire Bastion can just like kill you in weird ways, particularly Firelich Chromois. But it can still do them all, so you don't have to like worry about this build being incapable of killing Jolra or any of the bosses. It can do them all. You can definitely use this to farm dungeons, and it will be fine. As far as arena goes, it's actually good at arena. It's just not quite as good as Bowmage, or at least it wasn't quite as good. Bowmage got hit really hard with a crit strike change, with a crit vulnerability changes, harder than this build did. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure what Lizard's going to do with the Bowmage build right now as far as arena goes, whether or not it's pulling enough damage or not. It might be. So let's put that on the back burner. But historically, Bowmage was better because you didn't have to get as close to the enemy. This is still very good though, and you can play competitively with it. You'll just need to understand the the strategies of playing it, of positioning, and it actually got a little better as far as 0.9 goes, because the Meteor procs allow you to stand farther away with really dangerous enemies. That wasn't possible before. You had to be within Dragonsong's range or Dragonfire's range, or else you would not do any damage, any meaningful damage. But now with Meteor procs that will auto target pretty much anywhere on screen, you can hit things that without being really close. So that is a buff for the build. Again, I'm not sure where it's gonna play out as far as on the pantheon of Marksman builds. The best pushing ones, Bowmage was so good. Also the other arrow, the AoE arrow build, I'm forgetting, Rain of Arrows or whatever it's called, that one's really good too. So it might not be quite as good as those, but it's pretty good. So if you want to push this, you absolutely can. Okay, the last thing we'll talk about is just the loot filter. Just remember, we have a loot filter in here. You see the video guide's wrong because I'm making the video guide right now. We have a loot filter in here. It will not be the bow mage one once this goes live. It will be the right one for this. Just click it, download it, bring it into your bring it into your loot filter. I can't think of this word. Your loot filter folder, and you're good to go. If you need to know how to do that, we have the loot filter guide for it, so you can do it right there. All right, that covers the Dragonsong build. Hope you have a good time with this. Remember, make sure you get your crit. It's not like before. You need to get your crit first before you really run this build. But if you do, you'll have a great time with it. Thank you again for watching. And I'll see y'all again real soon.